Here we go. Caesar Civil War. Chapter 5. Decurrator. Basically means ran down. It's passive. So, ad illum extremum. To this extremum, final and ultimate and last, senatus consultum. This is a decree, a consultum of the Senate. That's a genitive. So, it was haste basically in running to this final and last decree of the sentence. Quo, by which, nisi, unless, paene, almost, it's an adverb, in ipso urbis, so the city in ipso incendio, unless the city was almost in itself in flame, incendio, and in desperation, just transfers to desperation, omnium salutis, of safety of all. Now, sceleratum, it's a modification. We actually have laetorum in some versions and porcorum in others. You can probably just leave that aside since we don't know what the actual text says. Audacia is like its boldness. Numquam means never. Ante before, so never before descensum. So the Senate had never before descended into this type of audacia, this boldness. So yeah, unless the city was on fire itself and the safety of all was in desperation, this boldness had never before been descended into by the Senate. Dent operam. So they gave work, they paid attention basically. Means consuls, the praetors, tribuni plebis, tribunes of the plebs, quisque, each one of the consuls, praetors, tribunes of the plebs, and proconsuls, sent, it's a subjunctive. So, these ones, each ones, and the proconsuls, they gave attention, ad urbem, which together means who were at the city, at hand in the city, nequid, so not anything, res publica, that's the republic, detrimenti, capiat, another subjunctive. So each one of the consuls, praetors, tribunes of plebs, and proconsuls who were at hand at the city, so that they would capiate, they would take, so that not anything would be taken as a detriment to be detrimental in the republic. That's probably a simple way of putting it. Haec senatus consulto, probably should have a gap in there. This decree of the Senate, per scribuntur, was written AD 7 id January. So it's basically the 7th of January in that year. Itaque, and so, and sometimes it's and so accordingly, vi primus debus, in the first 5 days, quibus, this is picking up from this ablative plural, in which habere senatus potuit, the Senate was able to be held, basically, which qua ex de consultum inet Lentulus, and which from the day Lentulus went into his consulship, biduo excepto, with 2 days exception, so there was 5 days, but basically there was another 2 days that were accepted commentali for assemblies, and de imperio Caesaris, and of Caesar going into his power and his governorship, and de amplissimus virus. So this is a superlative, and so basically is the most fullest men, so very, and concerning very important men. Tribunus plebs, and tribunes of the plebs. Gravissime, and there's the inclique, and acerbissime. So there were some decisions, discernitors, most seriously and most bitter. So if you want to put that all together, you can say, so from 5 days from Lentulus going into his consulship, with the exception of 2 days for assemblies, Caesar's going into power, and some very important men and tribunes of the pleb. They had some very harsh and bitter decisions against them. Okay, profugiunt, start him immediately. So they fled immediately, ex urbe, from the city, tribune plebes. The tribunes of the plebs immediately fled from the city, qui and sese themselves, conferant. So this is reflexive. So they took themselves and conferred themselves to Caesar. Is the demonstrative pronoun for he. So he, Caesar, eo tempore, in that time, erat, he was at, it's past, he was at Ravana, that's a locative, that's a place. Expectabatque, and he was waiting, suis lenissimus, his most soft or lenient responser. So here he's waiting for a response to his most lenient postulatus, his most lenient demands. If there's any way in equitate of hominum, in the most fair way of men, the matter, res ad otium deduce posset. So if the matter was able to be led into a peaceful, leisurely outcome. Proximus dibus, in the next day, habitur, extra urbum senatus. So the Senate was held habitur extra urbum, outside the city. Pompeius is Pompey, iademilla, those same things, that means they go together. Quae per Scipionem ostenderat. So that's a little clause there. So Pompeius agit was doing iademilla, these same things, and then this clause, which he had been showing through Scipio, which he had offered them through Scipio. Senatus virtutem constantiam qui collaudat. So, the nominative is going to be him, Pompey, from that previous one. He was praising the Senate for their valour and steadfastness, constantiam. Copias suis exponent. So he laid out, showed what his forces were, his copias. Legions habere sese paratus ex. So we had prepared sese for himself, ex legiones, which means 10 legions. Praeterea. So besides, cognitum compertumque. So he knew and he had found out, compertum means found out, sibi alieno esse enemo in caesarem milites. So he knew that he discovered and found out that they'd been alienated in their minds, the soldiers, milites, towards Caesar, they'd been alienated in their minds from Caesar. Neque, and neither, eus posse persuadere, neither are they able to be persuaded, eus, that's them, they're not able to be persuaded, ut eum defendent, so that, uti, they would defend him, aut sequent or follow him. So besides this, he had found out and discovered that the soldiers have been alienated from Caesar, and they weren't able to be persuaded to follow him or defend him, or sequent or follow him. Statim de reliquis rebus ad senatum refertur. So immediately, concerning the remaining things, the reliquis rebus, the remaining things were referred to the senatum, to the Senate. Tota Italia delectus habeatur. So that must be had. The whole of Italy, a delectus, which is a levy or a recruitment for soldiers, must be had, habeatur. Forced sulla, the nominative, propare, hastily, it's the adverb. Mitator, we were sent into Mauritania, semicolon. Pecunia, ute, ex erario, which is the treasury, Pompeo detour. So money, so that detour could be given to Pompey, was taken ex erario, from the treasury. So money, pecunia, taken from the treasury, was given to Pompey. Refertur etiam de rege iuba. So there was referred to even from King Uga, concerning King Uga, was referred to ut, that, sit, it's a subjunctive from the ut, that he should be a socius and an amicus, which would be an ally and a friend. So something was sent or discussed concerning King Uga, that he should become an ally and friend. Marcellus Vero, so Vero is but or moreover, Marcellus the nominative, passurum say, he would not allow himself or suffer himself, that's a future, in praesentia, in the present time or present circumstance, negat, so he denied. So, but Marcellus denied he would allow him this to take place in the present circumstances. De Forsto. So concerning Forsto, Philippus impeded this. So Tribunus Plebis, Philippus, the tribune of the plebs, impeded. He stopped this thing concerning Forsto because Forstulus Sulla had hastily been sent into Mauritania, but the tribune of the plebs had blocked this. De Reliquis Rebus, concerning the remaining matters, remaining things, Senatus Consulta Prescripita. So these decrees of the Senate were written down, prescriptum. Provinciae, so the provinces, privatus, this is two plural privates, discernantur due consulos reliquae praetoria. So the provinces were decided to private citizens, two consuls and the rest to praetoria, to praetorians. After you'd serve 5 years in office, you're allowed to get a province to command. Scipione. So this is basically Scipio obtained Syria, or Syria was obvenated to Scipio. So Scipio got Syria, and Lucius Domitius got Gaul, and so Gaul was still using the same verb. Gaul was given to this guy in the dative. So this guy, Lucius Domitius, he was assigned Caesar's province of Gaul. So Philippus and Cotta, privato concilia, by some private planning or plotting, praetoriuntur. They were passed by. Philippus and Cotta were passed by some private decisions, and neque eorum, neither of them, sortes, these are the lots cast for provinces. So they were not lots cast, de iuciuntur, that means thrown, so lots were not cast for either of them. In reliquis provinces, in the remaining provinces, praetors, this would be the nominative. Praetors can mean people who have been praetors, so ex-praetors, mittiuntur, were sent into the remaining provinces. Neque expectant, so neither did they wait, quod superioribus ennis acciderat, so for what had happened in the previous years, so they went off to the provinces, they didn't even wait for what had happened in the earlier years, ut that de eorum imperial, that their commands ad populum feratur, were carried to the people. Paludati means they put their cloaks on, and so putting their cloaks on, votis nunquam partus, this means having announced their vows, they had to swear vows, so they put on their cloaks and exeunt, they left, and they didn't wait for it to be born to the people. Consuls, quod ante id tempus, consuls, which before this time id tempus, that's a neuter, accidit nunquam, so before which time accidit had happened, nunquam never, consuls in what had never happened before, ex urbe profiscuntur, they left, they set out from the city, habent, and we have the enclitic, and they had lictors in urbe and capitino. So this in with the ablatives going with basically the capital as well. So in the city and on the Capitoline Hill, they had these lictors, pravatae, there's private positions because the consuls were leaving the city, which was contra omnia vetustus exempla, which was against all the old examples. And we're almost done. Tota Italia, so in all of Italy, delectus habentur, they had their delectus, which is their levy recruitments. Arma imperantur, see that's plural and passive, so they ordered arms, weapons were ordered. Pecunia, which is money. Exiguuntur, which is forced out or extracted from the municipes, which are Roman towns. So they held their recruitments, they ordered that weapons be provided, they extracted money from the towns, ephanes from the shrines, toluntur, so again this would be the money which was toluntur, taken away from the shrines. Omnia divina and humana jura, so omnia jura, all the laws, divine and human, permiscentur, were mixed together, and we'll end up with a daily dictionary word, which was a praetor. He's a leader, a head, chief or president, and praetor is an office. So that'll do us for today.